All right, welcome back. So I'd like to start out by showing you a trivial simple moving average crossover system. As a trader, you've probably encountered this familiar setup or something like it. It's the first system many traders are taught, and it's a simple system to understand. A moving average crossover system uses a fast moving average with a relatively short period and a slow moving average with a longer period. The general idea is that the fast moving average will stay on one side of the slower moving average when there are small fluctuations in the market, until a strong enough trend brings the fast line definitively to one side of the slow line. We want to capture the moment it crosses sides and ride the current trend. Therefore, there are only two signal rules. Go long when the fast crosses above the slow, and vice versa. Okay, we're back to our chart. Let's bring Bloodhound up. Now, if you recall from the previous video, we added a bar direction solver, mostly just as a simple example and a test, but let's get rid of that for now. So we'll press the X on there to delete that from the board. And to clean things up a little further, let's click on the bar direction that was left over. I'll get into what this left panel of solvers is, but for right now, I'm just going to click the bar direction and delete it. Okay, so we're all cleared out. Now, to detect a crossover condition between two indicators, it's actually pretty simple. Under the solvers menu up here, we actually have a crossover solver. So we'll click that to add it to the chart. Let's drag it away, give it a little breathing room. Now, the crossover solver has two input settings, input A and input B. These are going to be the two moving average lines that we're going to select. Now, input A is usually the faster moving of the two lines. So in this case, we have SMA 10 and an SMA 30. So the faster moving line is the SMA 10. To select that, we'll go to the indicator for input A and click on the ellipses button, this little three dots here. We'll click on that, and that brings up the selector window. Now, normally you would go and select the SMA. I can even type SMA here and it'll show up here. You double click it, but it's already on here by default. The SMA 14 is the default. So instead, I'll just click on it down here, and we'll set the period. It's very important that you get the settings on this top right area, the parameter settings. You want to make sure these match whatever you have on the chart. Bloodhound can't read your indicators, so you have to make sure that this matches what's on the chart. And if you change one, make sure to change the other to avoid confusion. Okay, so we've set that to 10. The SMA is simple. It has a single plot line, so we don't need to do anything here. But normally you would select the plot that you are looking for and click OK. Now for input B, we're going to do the exact same thing for the slower line, the SMA 30. Now again, SMA is already on here, so I'll just select it and change it to a 30. Click OK. And by default, that's good. We can just connect it and see how it does. Okay. So as you can see, as the faster moving line crosses below the other one, we get a short signal and a long signal when it crosses up. Very nice. All right, so we've captured the bar in which the indicators cross. But remember, I said that we also want to try to chase the trend if at all possible. So to do that, we're going to need to filter out a few of these signals, because not every crossover point is made equally. Some of the crossovers occur when there isn't quite as strong of a trend as we'd like. So one way to look at the strength of the trend is using the ADX indicator. The ADX indicator is a non-directional indicator. That is, it does not give any clue as to which way a direction is going, only the strength of that trend. When the ADX is above 25, it is said that the market is trending strongly in one direction. Okay, so I've added the ADX to the chart, and as you can see, we've already got a signal we can filter. So first of all, this crossover right here, this short signal, occurred when the ADX was above 25. If I bring up my little data box here, it says it's 25.76. So that signal we're going to keep, but this one over here, this long signal, is well below an ADX of 25. It's actually 13. So that one we plan to filter out. Now, to detect when the ADX is above or below a certain threshold, there is actually a solver for that as well. It's called the threshold solver. So we go back to Bloodhound. And by the way, if you lose the window or you closed it, just click on this button again. Okay. We'll go to the solvers menu again and see there is a threshold solver. Very convenient. So we'll click on that, drag it away. Now, to help us stay focused, let's disconnect the crossover solver. It's always a good idea to work on one thing at a time. Now, the threshold solver, all we got to do is select the ADX. So we'll go in to the selector window and choose the ADX. Double click that so it shows up down here, and make sure the period matches what's on the chart. I set it to default, so it's the default 14 period. And same thing, it only has one plot, so we're good there. We can just click OK. Now, by default, the threshold solver will only put out long signals because it's looking for a threshold of 0. To change that, we can go into the output settings. So we'll click on that button there. Now, like I said, by default, it's looking for if the ADX is greater than 0, give a long output. That's a 1, meaning a full output, 100%. You can have partial outputs as well in Bloodhound, but that's for a future video. And then normally it will give you a short output when the ADX is below 0. But what we actually want to do is change both of these to 25 and see how that affects things. Let's just click Apply now. Okay, so we're getting there. We're getting long signals whenever the ADX is above 25, and then short whenever it's below. And you can tell the output, if you take a look at the output there, it says long confidence 1, short confidence 0, and same thing on these, short is 1 and long is 0. So these are very distinct outputs from each other. But let's take a step back and remember what our goal is. We're trying to only allow crossover signals whenever the ADX is above 25. What we actually want is to have signals only when the ADX is above 25. And so to do this filtering, we actually want to create what we call filter signals. Let's go ahead and create them, and then I'll kind of explain what's going on and it'll become more clear. So to create a filter signal, we actually want the same output for both long and short. So I'm going to change this so that both of them are looking for the same condition. If the ADX is greater than 25, give a long output, and if it's greater than 25, give a short output. You're going to do the same thing for both outputs. If I click Apply, you can see the signals changed and match what we're looking for, the range of what we're looking for, right? So anytime the ADX is above 25, we're getting both a long and a short on the same bar at the same time. This will be very useful right now. So let's click OK and go back. Now all we need to do is add an AND node. So let's disconnect the threshold. We'll go up to the logic menu up here, and it has several different logic operators, but the AND is the most common by far. So we'll click on that. So the AND node works just like the way we speak, right? So we only want a signal when this guy is producing a signal, and also this guy is producing the same signal on the same bar, right? Because it's looking on each bar, is this guy giving us a short signal? And this guy is giving us a short signal, then we get a short signal. Same thing with long on that bar. That's where the filter signals came in. We're saying, okay, this bar has a long and a short, but when we combine it with the crossover solver, which only has a short, then it will only allow the short to come through. It filters in just the short. I hope that kind of makes sense. So basically, the ADX does not care the direction of the signal. That's the crossover's job in this particular system. The crossover decides that it's a short signal, and the ADX is saying when that signal is allowed to display, is allowed to come through. I hope that makes sense, but the more you play with this and the more you create systems like this, the more apparent it becomes on when to use that. Okay? All right, so let's scroll around on the chart and see if we can find other examples here. Here's an example where there was a crossover, a down cross, a short cross, that was filtered out because the ADX was well below 25, so that's good. Another one crossing up, it was filtered out. Same thing, looks like that ADX filter removed a lot of signals, which can be a good thing depending on how you want to trade. That's one thing that's worth being aware of. We're not trade coaches, right? We are tool builders at our heart. So we're here to make the best tools, but we're not here to tell you how to trade, including this system. This is not a recommendation to trade using a moving average crossover system. We just took a simple system from the real world that many people would be familiar with just to get you started. So I just want to let you know that we're not here to give trading advice. Okay. So here's a short signal well above ADX 25. Here's one where the ADX was very close to 25. And so you can imagine, let's say you decide, you know what, I don't want it when it's quite that close. Then we can go back to the threshold solver and just modify that just a little bit. Let's change it to, let's say, 27 if we just want to be a little bit more strict. And that will filter out that example, but keep the one that is way above 25. Okay. Oh, got rid of our first signal as well. Okay, so that's, yeah, we don't have very many signals anymore, which can, like I said, can be a good thing depending on what you want. All right, so we've covered a very basic moving average crossover system with an ADX trend filter. Now, before we move on to the next video, which is all about multiple time frames, adding a higher time frame to the system to expand on the idea of looking at the broader trend, I just want to show you one thing that will help with navigation. So you might have noticed me panning the board like this or zooming in and out. This simple way to do that is using your middle mouse button. So if you have a physical mouse, not just a laptop, but a physical mouse with a scroll wheel, you can press that scroll wheel like a button. It's actually a button. You can press and hold that to pan around. And then use the scroll wheel up and down to zoom in and out. Now, if you don't have a scroll wheel on your mouse like you just have a laptop, you can also hold the space bar and click, right? So you can see I'm holding the space bar and just left clicking, and that lets me drag or pan around. You also have the pan button up here and the zoom level up here. So there's lots of ways to go about it depending on if you have a mouse wheel or not. It's just up to you. If you get lost, like you drag it all the way around, you can't find your stuff anymore, even if you zoom out, it might be kind of hard to find it. You can click on this center view button. That will center you on your nodes, right? If you have some nodes selected, like this, and you click on the center view button, that will center you on just the ones that you have selected. So just a few little things that will help with navigation. Every once in a while, I'll meet someone who totally gets lost on where their nodes are, and that's an easy way to get back and to navigate. All right, see you in the next video for multi-time frame stuff.